Thanks, Robert. Well, welcome everybody. It's late and we're a little bit late on time, so I have some slides where I can speed up. My talk is titled An Example of Digital Sovereignty from Europe. And a funny story about that is I tried on Sunday to get through the US customs. They asked me what we're doing here, and I said, I have a talk at the university. And he asked me what to talk. I said, yes, about digital sovereignty. And the dude said, what? I never heard it before. Can you explain it? And I started to explain it. And he said, stop. I don't understand anything. Make it easier. And I said, do you know IT? Uh-huh. Do you know cloud computing? Uh-huh. That's it. And he said, okay, good luck. So, and I sweated there. Okay. So I will pursue 3 questions and try to answer them from a personal perspective, and we'll show an example on how we implement or try to implement it at the moment. Unfortunately, due to contracts and NDAs, I'm not always allowed to name everything, so I apologize in advance. And if you have any questions, just ask me this evening, so not while the recording is running. So yeah, my name is Robert Holling. I'm a research associate from a university in Germany and co-founder of the Open Infra user group, Lower Saxony. And it's like Jonathan said this morning, what I say here today does not necessarily represent the opinion and perspective of my employer. So I'm here on vacation. Let's see how this works. No. For the mouse.
Well, let's do this first.
Okay.
No.
I will. Okay. The mouse is okay. So, yeah, as I said, I try to formulate 3 questions and try to answer them. So, first of all, what is digital sovereignty? With a short explanation. The second one is why should we do this in Europe or otherwhere? So I will talk a little bit about the motivation behind that. And the third one, how do we achieve that with a kind of reference architecture behind it? So what is digital sovereignty? It comes to the question, what is sovereignty at all? And sovereignty is a term that comes more from constitutional law. And yeah, more generally speaking, means the ability to self-determine your actions, and it's characterized by self-reliance, autonomy, and independence. That's it. So what is digital sovereignty? The transfer of the concept of sovereignty to the digital world means the possibility of self-determined use and design of IT. So there are various aspects that play a role here. The individual skills of everybody or anyone is using that to act digital confidently. You need offers on the market enabling you. You need transport routes, transparent, confidential, and for secure transmission. You need legislation, I come later on that, for framework conditions. And okay, that's our job here, infrastructure, technological sovereignty over hardware and software, also in terms of procurement development. So you see here the footnotes, I will come on that later. What is not digital sovereignty? Obviously, everything or every solution where one of the previously mentioned points are not met. And as a result of this assumption, there are in Europe, especially in Germany, too many activities that are not digital sovereign, but claim to be. So the best in class is a federal cloud in Germany. So it is under the guise of the digital sovereignty, despite many concerns and warnings, a solution is chosen that ultimately uses the services of one hyperscaler, with many thanks to our Chancellor, Mr. Scholz. So in my opinion, it's a kind of greenwashing in IT taking place here. I named it sovereignty washing. So why should we do this in Europe or in other place? So this is probably a special point of view from Europe. And I tried to cluster the reasons into dimensions, I called it. So we have a legal dimension, and it's a special thing in the European Union. We have European Court of Justice, we have the European Commission, and so on. And around 80% of the laws in Germany are dictated by the EU. And once these laws passed in Brussels, we have to break down them to the member countries of the EU. So one example is the GDPR from 2018, and from last week, the Cyber Resilience Act. From last week, and we have now 36 months time to break it down into laws from Germany. So, as an example, what that means, the Cyber Resilience Act is you have, as a company, you have to ensure the cybersecurity for your products. From the design, let's say security by design, through the entire product lifecycle of your product. So one example, let's assume we are an European car producer, and your car is equipped with, at the moment, 150 control units, and over 100 million lines of code from various suppliers are running there. And you don't have control over the foreign software in total. And now it can happen that you have to take your vehicles off the market. And this happened already this year and will happen also next year. So this is a consequence of the CRR. We have an operative dimension. It is, there's obviously a need among companies and authorities in Europe to create a so-called secure data space for federated systems in and for Europe. Motivation is complex, is clear. So based on this need, Gaia-X, initially a dream of a European cloud, was founded and gradually developed and now names 91 use cases and one reference architecture, the sovereign cloud stack. So the efforts have so far resulted in theoretical constructs, hardly practical results. The only thing you can do now is the sovereign cloud stack. So the next dimension is the geopolitical dimension. Due to the war in the Ukraine and other unsecure political situations in the Near East and so on, coupled with a perhaps not so smart energy policy in Germany, we had to accept high increases in the energy sector. The cost for electricity in Germany raised up to plus 25%, the gas plus 75% within 3 years. So let's say one result is that Germany in particular has woken up and focused on sovereignty. And the implementation is controversial and it takes time, no questions, but something is moving on. It's like a super tanker, the engines have been started. Okay, the next dimension are the cost dimensions. We already heard today of this. There are some special cases with a 10-fold increase within 1 year, no question. We have a security dimension, unresolved security incidents, the theft of the signing general key for cloud service they offered, you know, all that. And overall, it's multifactorial, it's multidimensional. There are a lot of reasons to do that. So if it's not necessary, perhaps it's mandatory. And how do we achieve that? Another reference architecture. The key big surprise for us here is open source software, the standards that are represented by reference architectures, or better, based on standards, which results in those architectures. There are multiple reference architectures around locally existing. You can find them on the Open Infra Foundation homepage under blueprints for open infrastructures. So I just copies them from the web, different CSPs which are offering solutions, and yeah, reference architectures. So what do we achieve? But how do we achieve that? I have to go to step back one step. We came, let's say, from Middle Earth in the IT meaning, the land where the dragons live. So probably you have seen this picture from a lot of the Rings, on-prem installations with a couple of hypervisors, KVM, Hyper-V, ESXi, and so on and so on. And in 2016, we decided to move to OpenStack. At that time, 4 nodes with release Newton. 2 years later, we moved on to Rocky with 50 nodes, and 2020 up to 100 nodes with Usuri. When I'm talking here about nodes, the meaning is not only servers, but also switches, routers, firewalls, gateways, and so on. And now, 2022, we didn't move to Wallaby or something like that. We stopped because a research project started in 2023. And with this project, we are currently trying to implement the sovereign cloud stack R7. It's relatively new. I will show this on this slide. So this is the architecture of the sovereign cloud stack. A little bit bigger picture. As you can see here, a lot of services, you know, all from OpenStack, building the infrastructure as a service layer. That's a major focus for us to move our virtual machines into the new stack. Above on that, the Kubernetes layer. Left-hand side, you have a lot of tools to managing the whole stack. On the right side, you have here the IAM components, Keystone, OpenID or Keycloak. A little bit special about this architecture is that the later Gaia X services will be run on this architecture, so that you are interoperable with other systems within Europe. It's a special kind of this. So this is a picture about our infrastructure from our research project. So this is the planned sovereign cloud stack, building up our edge cloud. This is combined with a 5G core network from Ericsson at this time. And there are a couple of user equipments which are communicating via antennas over the so-called N6 interface to our edge cloud. In the left picture, you can see a simplified diagram of a standalone core, which is communicating with our sovereign cloud stack, so that you get a rough idea what we are doing there. So under the hood hardware a little bit, we are using Dell servers 15th and 16th generation. We're actually using edge-core servers, edge-core switches up to 400 gigabits Ethernet, and a couple of firewalls, routers, a little bit legacy stuff, then 5G devices, NVIDIA Jetsons, a lot of CPEs and so on. So very different. Under the hood software, our servers run 98% roughly under Ubuntu LTS. The edge core switches are running Sonic. This is Caracal, not Caracol. I'm sorry, OpenStack release. And Ceph release Reef, Kubernetes 1.3, and so on and so on. Then dozens of tools, you all know them, databases, different MySQL, MariaDB, Postgres, Mongo, tools like Grafana, Nagios, Prometheus, Wireshark, Netbox, and so on. Endless list of tools, all of them open source. So, and the client perspective, I'm using Linux Mint for my private purpose. And what's new in Germany from October this year is OpenDesk. It's a desktop, the open source containing XWiki, Open Project, Nextcloud, and so on for the public services. So honestly, we won't achieve 100% digital sovereignty. I think that's clear. Some devices with their own operating systems, drivers, firmware. Not all of our hardware fits the Open Compute project. We have some kind of proprietary software that has to be used for different reasons, and we have legacy stuff that can't be removed or replaced or will not be removed or replaced. So the conclusion is digital sovereignty in general is possible. There are multiple reasons to do it. I named it. And yeah, there are several reference architectures available, a lot of CSPs offering these services. Yeah, open source software is the key. And yeah, it's up to you doing it. Yeah. So yeah, no presentation from my side without links. So everything I said is here written down, and thanks for your attention.
So do we have any questions either for Robert or for Kevin about sovereignty or about the Binder Hub? They had such great presentations. I see one in the back. You all are going to really make me run in this place, but that's okay. I haven't been to the gym for a few days.
This is for Kevin about the Binder Hub. Sorry, I made you get up, Kevin. If other institutions wanted to adopt, or other teams, or maybe disciplines wanted to adopt what you've done with Project Pythia, what's the best way to get started, and what would you where would you have done differently, maybe, if you could have done it again? Lessons maybe learned.
One thing I'm differently, maybe have the time to learn a little bit about Kubernetes. Often, these days on social media, you have folks who will just indiscriminately post kind of like the most disastrous output from a particular model. Not really a great thing. Sometimes it actually. Any significant outages, when things go wrong, I would have liked to have better set of steps to, like, someone's trying to spin up Binder Hub and it's not working. Where do I go? What do I do? I mean, okay. So that, yes, actually that was the thing to do, because it deployed so quickly, 15 minutes. It was up and running after I'd been days, going through Google searches for Kubernetes and, how do I restart a pod? Well, you don't really want to do that.
And I think we had another hand up. Stig, hang on.
Thanks, Robert. Question for Robert, really. So thank you for the talk. That was very interesting. And I do very much agree with the principles. I'm just wondering, is there any discussion around where you draw the line about sovereignty? I mean, noting that your hardware is, Dell kit and edge core switches and so on. Do people try to take it beyond simply about sort of data sovereignty and go into more kind of like, we want a German solution for everything, or is that just considered as being more on the sort of protectionist side of things?
First, there's no hard line which is drawn. The second is, it is not a particular German solution. And I know that we can't achieve digital sovereignty at the moment at all. So we are talking about the software, not the hardware at the moment. But the next step will be to open the hardware to get the control of that too. Yeah.
I'm coming back. You purposefully moved to the back. I saw you.
So to follow up on the digital sovereignty question, I guess I have a couple of threads running through my head, but so one question I have, I guess I'm wondering kind of how do you see the digital sovereignty conversation evolving kind of in Europe versus in the United States? I mean, we have some topics present in our news cycle where that seem to kind of intersect with digital sovereignty as far as like ownership of data, specifically with TikTok, right? In the United States, we're kind of up on not having that owned by a Chinese company. But I guess, how do you see that conversation from a like, so that's the data that a company owns, right? Versus the data or a platform that you can build your solution on. Is there a conversation going on for companies and saying, hey, is it just about hosting the data, or is it about also like what I guess what I'm trying to say is hosting the data in Europe, if you will, versus just owning the data separate from. I'm trying to formulate the question there, but like for the company to essentially a company wanting the digital sovereignty over a data set versus like a government wanting digital sovereignty for its platforms that it has in its realm, its geopolitical realm, I guess, if you will. I don't know if that made sense, but I guess I'm kind of curious. Is the question that, do you see any kind of conversation going on around what companies are doing with their data versus what countries, I guess, are wanting to affect with their data?
So I can speak for the European view. This discussion is running, and it's also companies and also the federal government. They are all discussing what could we do to achieve digital sovereignty. So in Europe, the discussion is running, yeah, for sure. But I have no comparison to the US. I'm sorry.
I'm pretty sure John Paul just had a whole conversation with himself and there wasn't really a question there. So
thank you.
No, it is a very,
I just were lost.
It's a, yeah, there's a lot of different components to it, right?
Yeah.
And government, personal use, companies, institutions. So sorry, Jean Paul, I picked on you a little bit, but yeah.
I'm slightly confused, yeah.
I just met him today, literally. So yeah, I'm having a good time. All right, maybe time for one more question for Kevin or Robert. Oh, Chris, how am I going to get to you?
So Kevin, cookbooks in Project Pythia. I understand that Binder has uses a reproducible execution environment specification that is a Jupyter project, I believe. Are cookbooks the same as a repository defined with that specification, or is it a superset of that? And if it's a superset, what else is in there?
I think it's more the former.
Okay.
And you have a set of Jupyter notebooks, and you have an environment.yaml has all the packages that kind of make the Python environment work. And when a user interacts with Binder Hub, it goes out to the Docker repository It builds it if it hasn't already been built. In my kind of choppy animation there, it had been actually loaded really quickly, but that's because it had already been loaded and cached on the Binder hub. But yeah, it's not really a superset.
Got it. Thank you.
Let's thank Kevin and Robert. Thank you so much.